Hi, everyone. Welcome to Story Mantra. Glad to have you all aboard with us, and especially our host, Anju Gattani. Would love to welcome Deb Hunter, who is a USA Today bestselling author and historian. So this is the first time for us because we're welcoming a historical fiction author with so much experience. And of course, not just in writing fiction, but bringing history to life. So who is Deb Hunter? She sometimes writes as Hunter S. Jones. She publishes independently and via traditional publishing platforms. Welcome, Deb. Great to have you.
Hi, thank you so much for inviting me to come on.
Yeah, and Deb has actively promoted the craft of historical writing through affiliation with many professional groups, including Society of Authors, founded by Lord Tennyson, the Royal Historical Society, the American Historical Association, and the Organization of American Historians. When she isn't writing, talking, or tweeting about kings, queens, and rock star, Deb lives in Midtown Atlanta and rural Tennessee with her Scottish-born husband. And of course, all her social media links, her website, and purchase links to her books are below the video. So Deb, we're just so thrilled to have you here with us to teach us about so many new things called, the first one, of course, Kindle Bella, which I didn't hear about until you mentioned it. So tell me, what is the Kindlevella?
Kindlevella is in beta right now in the US only. It is episodic fiction. So it's serialized fiction, which is something completely different for the US market on Amazon. It's extremely popular on Wattpad and Radish right now. So Amazon is looking to get into that market. And I have to tell you, it's great fun.
Really?
Great fun.
So when you say great fun, is that great fun to write, or great fun because you mentioned in the last episode it's episodic, and so you write one episode after another? It's not like it all strings together, but you write it and release it in a very different time frame.
You really do. You still have a story arc that you're trying to tell an overall story, but it's really more of an ensemble piece than a novel or novella would be. It can be structured at the end of your episodes to fit into a novel or novella format, but overall everything's centered on each episode, and that is so exciting and so refreshing for me, at least.
So how does it differ writing for the Kindle Bella versus writing for novella?
What I found is everything is first person point of view. So everything you write. Now, you could do third, and I may try that for just a couple of episodes to give that, bird's eye view looking in on a situation. But for the most part, it's all about how an individual character sees the world around them. So it's very compartmentalized, I guess is the word for it. So instead of looking for a broader thing, you're really looking at what's going on right now. And that's really fun. That gives an urgency to what you're writing.
Well, so how does it differ? Because when we're writing a novel or a novella, we're also in the moment, in the character's point of view. So for me, what I'm trying to understand is how does the two differ from the writing perspective?
What I found is when you're looking for longer things, you are looking in, but it's really more setting a scene. This, to me, at least, is more about what the character, kind of like we're living right now. We are doing this interview, and then we're going to go have tea. It's all about, we're not looking at what's going on a month from now. Everything is really more like real life. And it's so fun to write that way. It's like a TV show. TV shows, they don't sit there and think, oh, this is going to be happening to me next month, so I need to think about that today. Everything boils down to what they're doing right now. And that is so much fun to write.
So I'm guessing there's less backlash and there's less projection and thought about what will happen. And so is that what you mean by very in the moment?
Yes, that's exactly it. They may have plans for the future, and that may cross their minds, or it may come up in a discussion, but it's really more like today, what's going on right now and how you're reacting to it. it's fun. It's great to write.
Guessing the pacing must be much faster because it's all in the moment, it's happening now. And so the pacing of that structure must be like, one after another, boom, boom, boom kind of thing.
It really is. And conflicts are just there all the time, just like they are in real life, where you're always looking, to just get out of this and go on to the next thing, and just a lot more immediacy than you would have in a novel or even a short story. So that can be fun, especially with characters, because they're you're not really talking about the room they're in or what they've got on as much as what's going on between them and their other interactions. And I'm loving it.
Oh, good. Well, that's great to know. So you've got a lot of experience in different writing formats and different formats of publishing. You've done traditional and you've done self-publishing. Can you talk about the differences between the two?
There are definitely good points to both. I love my publisher, Pen and Sword History Books out of the UK. They are wonderful to work with. And I can't say enough good things about them, but I love doing indie stories, because if I decide, that book's not really a book for today, that's a 10-year-old book, I can pull that book. Whereas with a publisher, that would still be up there. So there's that, if you do independent, it's more of what you want to do. You don't have to answer to anyone. You can promote something you feel like is fresh and new without having it in your catalog. And I love that. I absolutely love that.
How about the advantages of traditional publishing?
Oh, the advantages are you have their platform, you have their name. And that really means a lot still, to say you have a publisher.
In terms of marketing, is there a big difference between the two for an author?
I can't speak for everyone, but I still promote anything that's published the same, just as gung-ho as I do my indie stuff. So you just can't depend on anyone to tell your story the way you would tell it.
Right.
So
how about from the editorial perspective?
Pardon?
From the editorial perspective, working with a publishing editor in-house versus, say, if you choose the self-publishing route, working with an editor of your own choosing.
I found those to be equally, the editors I've worked with were extremely professional, very, I can't really see a difference. I work with a publishing team that I've had together for years. So we have content editor, I have a copy editor, I have betas. It was the same with a publishing house. They had people go through it for the first drafts, pull things out, add things. We want to see this added. Then it went on to the second and then third editing group. So it kind of works the same way I do independently. So for me, at least, there wasn't that big of a difference.
Do you have a preference of one over the other?
No, I like my personal team. I've got a great team, and they know my writing style. They know my time frame, and I can depend on them. I know they're going to do the best possible job. I have to laugh, though, and I'm sure everyone's seen this. No matter how many eyes you have on something, those grammar gremlins are going to get in there.
Oh, I can imagine. I mean, everybody has an opinion on a book, and everybody's entitled to their opinion as well.
Yep.
So I guess, everybody brings their own perspective to that one story. And in that process, there are corrections and errors or, viewpoints as well. So I wanted to move on to something exciting, which we talked about before, and that is, the Kindle Bella, which we already talked about. Tell me a little bit about the audience that actually reads a Kindle Bella, and how does the Kindle Bella work?
The majority of the audience, from what I understand, seems to be 18 to 35 worldwide. Now, in America, I don't have any demographics yet, so I can't really say this is what they're looking at for the American market. I've structured any ads I've done on Facebook to hit that 35 to 18 market, but I just did an exploratory one for 18 to 55, and I got more clicks through that. So I think, just to say this is a niche for this market, I believe the American audience is a lot broader than maybe people believe it's going to be. So we'll see.
We'll see, yeah. And what about the sort of lucrative prospects of this kind of writing? That, you know, you've seen both sides of the traditional and now, of course, the Kindle Bella style. What is the monetary prospects for a lot of authors?
The lucrative side would be if you have thousands of people reading your story and stories, that's going to add up to a lot of money. And it's going to possibly lead to TV, movies. The sky's the limit with this, because if you can write episodic fiction, and I have 2 friends, that actually 3, that have things in the works right now. So if you can prove to them that you can do this, you've already got your episodes set up. So it's fairly easy to transition things into a TV format.
Right, because you've got the set for it from the beginning.
Yeah, it's already set up. It's in episodes. You've got your characters, you've got your setting. So that way they don't have to really break it down the way they would a novel.
Right. And in your stories, how many episodes do you have, say, for one novella or one series format? How many episodes would it be?
I'm doing something that is just wildly creative with this, where it is new. I wanted to do something different and something fun. So what I'm doing, where my story is set in New Orleans, I am pulling a tarot card every week, and I'm naming my episode after the card.
Oh,
so
interesting.
It is so much fun because they're filming this movie, TV series. We don't really know, but right now it's just film set. So it takes place in New Orleans, because we all know a lot of filming is happening in Louisiana and New Orleans right now. So you can't really walk down the street in New Orleans without seeing a tarot shop or a psychic shop. And I thought that might be a fun way to work in the locale with the story. So it is great fun, because you pull this card, and it's amazing how many times it's fit in with the story arc overall. So like this week, it's the Magician. Well, the Magician, if you look into it, is that spark from above to manifest it on earth. Well, in this one, the 2 main characters may actually have a connection. So it was the perfect card to draw this week. So if we go by that, I believe there are 78 major arcana cards. So that means I'm going to have 78 episodes.
And that is wildly creative, because the sky is literally the limit.
It really is. And again, it's funny how it's shaping out to follow the storyline. I'm really having great fun with this.
Oh, wonderful. And how do you get your writing done for this? Is it the only project you're working on, or do you have several other projects going on?
I'm still doing my my blogging. That has kind of gone to the wayside, because I'm having so much fun writing these and promoting these. And I'm also doing a lot of Clubhouse. I don't know if you're familiar with Clubhouse, but it's a live audio only social media platform. And at first it was invitation only, and they've now opened it to everyone. So it's like a podcast. You go in and talk about a subject, but your viewers can ask you a question. So if you're talking about writing and someone says, well, tell me how you wrote that, tell me how you shaped your characters, you get to have a conversation with this person in real time. And I can't tell you how many podcasts I've listened to when it's finished and I'm like, no, I want to know more. Tell me more. So on Clubhouse, you actually get to do that. You get to have conversations with these historians or writers. And yesterday we had just a wonderful chat with two historians from the UK, and it was just great. The questions people had, we were all there for over an hour talking about events that happened 500 years ago, and just knowing we could interact with them, ask them questions, get their opinion on things, their insight really would be a better word. It's just so refreshing to be able to do that. And it was an international group. So, it was lunchtime on the West Coast. It was 3 o'clock here. It was 8 in the evening in the UK, 9 in Europe. So that just gives you an idea of how broad of a network you can reach through this. It's really fun. So I'm getting into that right now. That's my new jam.
That's your new jam. Well, sounds like a lot of fun. I mean, and when you're on this podcast, are you talking live to the hosts and the interviewee who is there, or is it through message that you put your question forward?
Oh, I am the host.
You're the host.
I've been fortunate enough to be in on some other talks where I've been the moderator or the guest, but this is pretty much my show, and it aligns with my group and my blog, which is called All Things Tudor. So we talk about Tudor history, or we have Tudor historians. So it's fun if that's what you're into.
Yeah. So tell me, Deb, why the Tudor era? What fascinates you about it?
About Tudor history or history in
the Tudor era, because you've also got, and we'll be talking about this in the next episode, something on social media to do specifically with Tudor. So why this era?
I fell in love with Tudor history when I was in college, because we all know you never fall in love with anything close to you because you see it all the time. And I'm from the Chattanooga, Tennessee area, where you can't go anywhere without seeing things about the American Civil War. And something that happened in England or Scotland 500 years ago is much more exotic. And just the thought that there was this king that fell madly in love with this woman, had her executed, but their daughter became probably, some people say, the greatest monarch England has ever had. I mean, you really can't make this kind of stuff up. So it's just so intriguing. And I really think it helped me prepare for corporate America, because it was such a ruthless, cutthroat era that it translates into working for a corporation, because you see what people are capable of doing to other people. So you can learn from the past, most definitely.
Well, and that's so true, because we do, base our future and present actions based on past experiences.
Yes.
So I guess, on a larger scale, what you're looking at in terms of when you talk about working in corporate, working a job, and based on what people did in the past and things you read about, it kind of ties in very neatly and nicely.
Yep, you see how people will build alliances and how they'll go about doing it. And, you learn a lot just about human nature when you study the past.
Right. That's so true. So I wanted to touch it quickly a little bit about your research into history, because, you're so focused on historical fiction. And I wanted to ask you, do you decide the period or era you're going to write about, or do the characters tell you, or does it just fall in place, sort of like, that entire debate about plotters versus pansters? How do you know which era of history and what details to put in when you do create the world building?
It really depends on the project more than anything. Again, I'm drawn to the Tudor era, but again, the Victorian era is right here still. So it really helped shape modern day South, I guess is the best way to put it, because trains, it's when the South really started growing up, so to speak. And your characters tell you a lot about what they want to do, where they want to go, what they want to experience. Have you found that to be true?
My characters tell me everything.
Okay.
My problem is when I have tried to make them do the logical thing, which, if I'm doing my workout in the morning and I'm trying to envision the scene and how it should be done, and this is the right way to do it, and I have it all planned in my head. And when I sit down to write, and I'm old school, so my first draft is always pen on paper. And so when I sit down to write, nothing happens the way it should. The characters take me by surprise, and everything I've planned can just go in the trash. So I have learned from experience, just sit down and do what the characters tell you, because it just doesn't work for me that way. Planning up to a point, maybe, but it's going to go haywire anyway.
That's true. That is so true. That's such a good point.
I mean, so I guess you kind of learn from the past mistakes. Isn't that what we talked about?
Exactly. You've got it.
Yeah. So if somebody wants to write for Kindlevella, what would your writing tip be to them in terms of how to get started, how to go about the process? Can you walk us through? Because this is all very new for me. I find it fascinating. I'm sure it must be new for many people out there too.
It is new for all of us, unless it's people that have published before on Wattpad or Radish, or there's a few others, but those are the two main ones. If you have a KDP account, you can go ahead and get started. A lot of new authors have come in with this for whatever reason. They're very drawn to it. You just simply go in, and under KDP with the bookshelf, your reports, you'll see the Vella tab. So all you do is go in and you download each episode, and you can write something in Word and download it directly to Kindle, and it still keeps in all your formatting. So that's the beauty of it. Or if you just want to go in and write out your story like you would a blog, you've got the freedom to do that. So it's a pretty versatile little platform.
Okay. And how about making it go live? Can you work on it in a draft form and then make it go live when you want? Or is it pre-timed and preordained? How does it work?
It's both. If you want to download something and take it live, just like you do with any KDP publication, you can do that. Or you can say, let's say if I wrote my next episode today, I could set it to go live at 9:00 Monday morning. So it's pretty easy to work with, really.
Wow. So it's very user-friendly, I'm guessing.
And I found that these stories just kind of go through there. Mine are usually approved in a matter of minutes.
Really?
So
wow.
It's just, and that could be because I've been a bestseller. I don't know if everyone's had that experience, but mine are almost approved as soon as I write them. So,
oh. Wow. So for everyone who's watching, Deb has made it through the top 50, top 100 in Kindlevella, which is great. Yay. It's a huge accomplishment. And, so she's obviously the right person to guide us through the process, how it works, what it means, what it involves, which is why, I was so excited. One, because we have her as a historical fiction author coming in. And secondly, all this Kindlevella experience. So how about the editorial side of it with Kindlevella? Do you have your own editor who checks everything, or because it's like self-publishing, but on a shorter time frame, tighter time frame, and you're really releasing episodes?
I still use an editor, and I also, my main character is is British, and my husband is British. So he is going through and making sure I have the correct language, because we do speak different languages, believe it or not. We use words in a different way. So he is the ultimate editor of this story. And he's he's the toughest editor I've ever had.
I'm sure he makes sure you learn from past experiences too, right?
Yes, exactly. But he's really good to come through and say, did you mean to spell this in American English or in British English? Because we do spell words differently. And I've been married to him so long, sometimes our worlds do get mixed up. So he catches little things like that even, but he's really helped me give a voice literally to my British character. And it's been so much fun.
Wow,
Because,
well, that's great.
Yeah, I'll write it and print it out so he can go over it the next day. And this week I have to tell you that I just handed him the computer and I said, don't tell me anything, just go ahead and edit it. So, that way there's no artistic banter, we'll say. So but it's fun working together.
Well, that's wonderful. And is there a tip or writing advice that you could give to somebody who's looking to start with fiction, any type of fiction, whether it's a novel or a short story? What could you share with them?
Just write that first sentence. That's where it all starts.
It's that simple, but it's so hard.
It really is. And I, like anyone, you're going to go through bouts of writer's block. And my main editor told me that one day. She said, just sit down and write one sentence. And do you know, just by doing that, I wrote a paragraph. And next thing you know, you've written 300 words. And next thing you know, it's 1,000 words. So that one sentence is what it's all based on. And it's some of the best advice I've ever been given.
Well, thank you so much, Deb. Thank you for being with us on Story Mantra, for all the advice, the guidance, and of course, the experience you've had on Kindlevella, for sharing that with all of us. And stay tuned for episode 3 next week, when Deb will talk about how her social media and her strategies became even bigger than her books. And of course, it works in tandem because one feeds the other. Isn't that right, Deb?
That's so true. And thank you for having me. You are just wonderful to work with, and I'm having a ball.
Well, thank you so much, Deb. And we'll see you all again next week. Bye, everyone.
Thank you. Bye.